Howdy guys, it's Joe here, and here we are again with another Top 500 video, Top 500 VOD, going over Cody the player, and how he plays Sombra. Now, before we get started, I want to just talk about you guys a little bit about what I said about Sombra in the past. Now, of course, we're just starting off with Sombra, you know, average gameplay, running up there, trying to get a lot of harassment, which you can do a lot of. But I kind of just want to say that I honestly feel like Sombra is a lot better of a character than many of us gave her credit for. For the last few months, a lot of people have honestly just been saying, you know, she can't do that much, she's just not very effective at all. But after, you know, watching a lot of Cody's gameplay, I can see just how much she can do. Now, the thing about Sombra is that she's very different from other characters. She does really great for her team, hacking people, that be it her own team, well, I guess health packs for her own team, the enemy team, and just really, that's the only things you can do. But the hacks, honestly, are very powerful, and as well with that, just the assassinations, and mainly just the disruption, is a lot more powerful than would initially be thought of. Normally, when you're thinking about, you know, getting a lot of damage, getting a lot of kills, you think that it's so important that you have a backliner that can only do that, that can only get kills. But as we see right here, even she doesn't always get the most kills. You know, Sombra can't always get the kills every time, every single second. But what Sombra can do is get a lot of poke, get a lot of decently ranged damage, and make a lot of people back off. As we've seen quite a few times already, especially with that Reinhardt, and I guess with this Widow, you can really stay kind of far away, just shoot people, and since you have so much ammo, you might not have to immediately kill them, but you still can just do a heck of a lot of damage. As well with this right here, even though the Sombra player couldn't kill the soldier, you can still do a lot of damage, still makes it that they aren't shooting your teammates, still get a lot of disruption, and that seems to be kind of what Cody mainly focuses on. He could try to get a ton of kills, he could try to Genji it up, try to tracer it up. You don't have to do that as Sombra. She's not really this damage character, at least from how this guy plays. And this is honestly one of the best Sombras. That's like a top 500 Sombra that I think is, at one point, the number 2, number 3, or number 4 player in the world. So, yeah, probably a good idea to learn from. But yeah, from what we can see through a lot of this right here, he kind of just sneaks around in the side room, waits for the enemies, waits for them maybe to overextend, as we see really great right here, or otherwise than that, we can also just wait for them to just, you know, go upwards and not really be in his way. He walks up, he pokes at them, he shoots at them, he charges his ultimate up, he gets a lot of really good engage, but then he runs away. He always makes sure there's a translocator down on the ground, and he always just knows exactly when to get back. As you see over and over again, he's been getting to like 0 HP a lot this game, but he keeps knowing when to go for it. As well with this, I want to mention the fact that he is right here waiting to use his ultimate. He could have just jumped down and immediately gone for the thing. I'd say, I guess he could have used it right there, but a lot of his teammates were dead. It kind of would have been a bit of a waste of his ultimate, to be honest. So he just saved that, and now we can have it for later. It charges pretty fast, but you still want to use it, and you still want to keep it, because it's definitely one of the strong ultimates in the game, as it counters all enemy ultimates. Personally, I feel like it's really quite good on defense in a lot of cases because it stops offensive pushes. Offense, it can be good, but a little bit more awkward a lot of times. But yeah, overall, pretty good. As we see right here, you know, just kind of running around, getting up on the high ground. Again, throwing that onto that health pack. As you see as well, though, it doesn't always 100% get those health packs with the hack. A lot of people I know do that, which is nice. You know, the upgraded health pack, definitely good, but there's a lot more that you can do. You can try to get these nice long-range hacks, and yeah, you probably should be ulting and getting some health packs, I guess right-clicking, and getting those health packs, hacking them, but you shouldn't always be doing that 24/7. You aren't just simply a healer with this person, you're really more of that disruptor. Right there, we saw a nice thing by him. He could have went in and tried to get a kill, but instead he saw, you know, this person's very low. I might die right here. It's a lot safer for me to go back and to just get back my health, you know. But I made them already back up. I made them already less than half HP, and they're going to have to wait quite a few seconds, especially on defense, before they can start going in again. It isn't all about the kills. That's something that you should remember from this guy's gameplay. A lot of people think that, you know, getting kills is all that matters at all in Overwatch, and of course at all with any of these offensive characters. A lot of people just think that maybe I should only play these offensive characters because all of their damage, but you can do a lot more than that, and you can kind of just make a lot of different plays that you normally wouldn't think about. And something that I'd like to talk about is gameplay, that he also uses his invisibility, less of a thing to sneak behind people, and more of a thing to often use it just as a bit of movement. Of course, he's waiting right here, trying to use his E. Unfortunate, gets bodied right there, but yeah. Also, these skips are just because I don't want to have you guys watch a lot of just death. That's not the funnest thing. But yeah, I don't know why, but I feel like a lot of people just kind of think that you got to save that invis for a little while until you can sneak behind the enemy, try to get a nice cheeky kill. It's not really always used like that, especially when you see these gameplays, you don't always see that used. As well, a little tip I'd like to give if you don't already know it is that as Sombra, you can shift and then go for your E in your invisibility, and people can't actually see you. It doesn't get rid of your invisibility, so that's pretty nice. If you didn't know that, I'd say that's a nice thing to do. Right here's a great play. He waits for the enemies, waits until they're here, and sees if he has to use his ultimate, decides to go for it, so that there's really not much the enemies can do. He gets ulted, and actually Sombra with that ult, with an ult, does so much damage. I guess they could have ulted someone else, maybe the Winston, but yeah, Sombra with that damage ult, does great damage. They just maul through them, and he's really been saving his ult for a long time. He honestly could have charged it maybe once or twice since now, but he's been keeping it to when it was maximum effective. Right beforehand, you can't really just go with Sombra's ult without your teammates there. You can't just really go with Sombra's ult without the enemy team's ults charged. If you go in like that without any of your team's ults charged, or the enemy team's ults charged, or your team not being fully ready, you're not really going to do way too much. Of course, you can try to go for it, but this isn't a damage ult. This isn't quite as much of a purely damaged character. Whilst you can get a lot of kills, a lot of elims, a lot of decent damage, she's not just that pure damage that you have on someone like Soldier. Not pure damage that you have on someone like Genji. I guess Genji's a little bit different, but yeah, mainly Soldier, McCree, she's not quite the same. She's kind of like a mix between a lot of characters, which is pretty nice to see. Alright, there, unfortunately, she got hacked, but it was kind of glitchy. It didn't really actually work out to hack that Tracer that much. But I'd like to say that actually hacking Tracers is really, really strong. Makes it so that they can't burst around the map can actually make so Sombra can kind of counter Tracer in a lot of situations, if you can happen to actually get that hack. And considering the long range that this hack has, it's a pretty easy / medium, I guess, a difficult thing to do. It's not way too hard, I guess. So yeah. As well, a nice thing to hack right there. Whenever there's somebody with a lot of movement, you know, that could be Tracer, or they could be Winston right there, you probably want to hack them. Of course, he could have just decided to keep shooting the Winston. He could have tried to just kill the Winston a little bit faster, but instead, if he can stop the Winston from jumping about and just kind of mauling his team, he'll probably do just a little bit more for his team, as then Winston can't attack you, and then your team can just go in. Alright, there, they picked off a few people, decided to get that Winston in there. Of course, Cody's dead right here, trying to get back as fast as he can, again, using that, you know, teleport, and I guess not teleport, using that stealth, sorry, not the teleport. Yeah, one thing that I also like to say is that sometimes I see people throwing their stealth into the enemy team quite often, and honestly, as well as you can see right here, rip, but as you can see right here, he doesn't really do that way too much. Mainly he pushes it on places where he can heal a lot. He puts on places where he can just get back, and he doesn't really throw it into the enemies to try to get behind them. He puts it more as an escape than as something that you can try to get a lot of kills with, which, yeah, that's just what he uses a lot of his abilities as, you know, to be a little bit more disruptive and mainly be a little bit more safe, as I feel like a lot of people just kind of don't think about just how safe Sombra can be. Of course, he's still going to get bursted. Of course, he still can get turned upon. The enemy team can't just turn all around, but she's overall a pretty safe pick. Unlike Tracer, you don't just go back a few feet. You can go back 16 seconds worth of time. So, like, imagine Tracer's E could do that. Yeah. Now we're here to the offensive Sombra. Obviously, pretty dang good. You can jump around the map. This is a lot different than defensive Sombra. Defensive Sombra, you want to always put it on those choke points, or just always put your E on these health packs. And while you do want to do this often quite a bit on offense, it's not as necessary. It's pretty good, but not as necessary. The nice thing about offense Sombra is the fact that you can actually happen to throw this on top of things, which you should obviously often do, and it can give you huge height advantage, which is pretty nice, because when you have height advantage, you can kind of shoot towards their head. When you do have height advantage, though, you want to shoot towards their head / their body. Don't shoot just for their head, because her gun's just not the most accurate thing in the world, so it's a little bit more damage dealt if you happen to actually shoot for both of them at the same time. From here, what we're really seeing is just a lot of shooting at far range. What I guess some people could maybe try to do in this situation is run in, put your E, and just try to go completely ham, which is kind of what they do. But instead of just running straight into the enemy team, running straight behind them, he runs to the right, gets that health pack up for his team, and as you see, it was a much safer option. He could have just ran behind them as he did right here, but his team was actually going in. He could have went in behind them by himself, which would have been the huge mistake, and maybe gotten a kill, but probably killed himself and probably not done nearly as much as just simply getting that health pack, waiting for his team to go in, and then going in. Obviously, going in as Sombra with your team, you know, it's always good to go in with your team, but especially as Sombra, I feel like it's especially effective, as it makes you a lot more safe, makes it a lot harder for the enemies to actually burst you because they're focusing on so many more people, and also makes it that your stealth is insanely more good, because, simply put, it's a lot harder for people to just kind of pay attention to you, and of course, when you go unstealthed, people can't really notice your "I'm here" that you normally yell out, or when you're unstealthing with a huge fight, when there's all these abilities, all these sounds, it's not nearly as noticeable, so yeah, you can probably do that a little bit. Right there, they go for a nice hack. Obviously, that's probably something that you should be doing. I don't really see people doing that way too much. But when people are on the ground by themselves or just with a teammate, something, when they're slept, or when people are just kind of stuck next to your team, you should probably hack them. They always have the chance of killing one of you, the chance of getting away maybe, and it's better to just simply get the opportunity to hack them than just shoot. Again, right there, that was probably a time when you could have just seen Cody instead shoot, but he went for the hack. It might have made it so that Genji can live for a few extra seconds, but it made so that the Genji didn't have the opportunity to really ever get away. So you have to be ready for a bit slower kills, not as much burst as Soldier, not as much damage as Soldier instantly, but you have a lot of consistent kills, you have a lot of consistent safety, and you're just kind of a pretty consistent character, even though it is a little bit awkward to try to pull out that consistency well. You really kind of have to know where you want to be as this character. You really have to kind of know when you want to go in and when you want to wait for your team, and sometimes when you want to get behind and try to get some of those health packs off. It's really quite hard. It's kind of hard to explain, as the majority of Sombra just kind of comes with experience, it seems. I know quite a few times when he might be going in, but sometimes it seems like he'll just try to go in and just go in when his team's going in. He'll just go in at times when maybe I won't be expecting it most, and that also, I guess, could be one of the things you want to try to think of. Don't go in with Sombra when everybody would be expecting you, you know. At the very beginning of a team fight, people would probably expect you to run behind them, go for a Sombra ult. You might want to wait just a little bit for when people aren't ready for your Sombra. They might think that you're out of the fight or something. They might get ready to use their ultimates, and then you can just block them off. You can just go in from there. As well from this, one thing I want to talk about that's a little bit different than most of my VODs is the fact that Cody is actually talking not at all to the people in the chat. Normally I say that, you know, it's a great thing. The people are always talking to the people in the chat, and I will say it's a great idea to do that. But obviously you can still do okay if you happen to not have a mic. You're not completely doomed if you can't talk in chat. And I think that he's not talking in chat because he's in a stream or something like that, because he's talking a lot. So he's probably in a stream, probably talking to his friends, probably talking to himself, talking to the viewers. There's a lot of other people he could be talking to. But yeah, it's probably a good idea to talk with your friends, talk with other people in the game, but you don't 100% necessarily need it. You won't auto-lose, essentially, if you don't have a mic. There's still a high chance that you can win if you know what you're doing and if you pull out all the stops. Yeah, just wanted to mention that, as I feel like some people have thought in the past by me saying that mics are so important that you're just kind of screwed without a mic. You're definitely not screwed without a mic. It's just a little bit harder to play the game and a little bit harder to get yourself powered up and get yourself in there, get yourself getting a lot of kills than normal. Of course, as well, something that I guess I could mention is the fact that when he does actually tab out, because some people, you know, sometimes you just gotta tab out. Sometimes you need to hit that Discord. You want to go somewhere safe. I had countless times where people just walk on the payload, tab out, and then just get mauled by something. It's a really basic thing, but yeah, that's something that you should probably think about. But yeah, it just kind of continues from here. He mainly does a lot of similar things. He mainly does try to get high ground. He mainly does try to put his E in very safe positions and tries to get a lot of poke. Some people just don't go for poke Sombra. Obviously, your gun isn't the most accurate thing in the world, but you can send out a lot of shots and charge your ult actually pretty dang fast, considering how strong of an ult it is. It's kind of like Mei, where it just charges really fast if you spam a lot of your right clicks, but in this case, it's your left clicks, and you should be doing that. There's really no negative to shooting from a long way away, and yeah, just don't always try to get melee range before you start shooting people. You can shoot at a decent range and do well anyways. But here, though, they get it all the way to the end. That's actually a really fast time. As you see right there, he went in, he got his ultimate, and he timed it really well with his team. Now, he didn't have to actually talk with his team, but a lot of the times when you have a Sombra, or when you are a Sombra, you can just go in, and sometimes your team will just listen to you, or you can just, I guess, ping that your ultimate's up. A lot of the times, people just kind of know, though, that you're probably going to go for your ultimate, and it's probably going to be pretty good from there. Now we're back to defense. Sorry about that weird animation change. I don't know why that happened. But yeah, as we see right here, again, he's just trying to shoot for far range. And while he isn't getting a lot of kills, he is pushing people off this bridge. These people could just normally be on the bridge. Not much your team could do about it, but yeah, someone can just kind of stop that. And as well, we can see he already has 25% ult charge, and he didn't really do all way too much right there. All he did was just shoot barely anyone. Your ult does charge insanely fast, and especially if you see tanks, while you might not be able to actually kill them, you can get a lot of damage. Before that, we also saw that he waited to send his E onto that point, onto that health pack. Of course, something you should always do. And right there, when there was actually happening to be that Zenyatta orb, he went for that, shot the Winston. Just another pretty basic thing that you should be doing. Right here, he's just happening to be behind this person. Quite lucky indeed. And he goes back all the way to his team. A nice thing about Sombra is the fact that you can actually get really far deep, really far in there, but you can still maybe not jump straight on the enemies, just go right or left to them. Normally a place that would be really hard for most of your teammates to get through. But as Sombra, because just the way that she is, you can place your E down somewhere else and then just teleport back to your E. And while you are in a really bad position, you can just go right back to your team and just help your team all over again. So yeah, that's a really basic thing you can do as her, of course, but something that obviously makes her a little bit better and a little bit different than Genji at certain points. Being able to get so far extended and be able to get poked from so many different angles while being so safe, something that's definitely very peculiar about Sombra. That's one thing that only she actually has, so something that you should probably keep a lot of attention to. Now, more back to the gameplay itself. Right here, he's getting up there. He's still having a decent height advantage. He jumps down a little bit, try to shoot people from far away, and he's pretty safe right now. Of course, he can jump in. He can get right next to them. He does have his E up again, so it's quite safe. Of course, he's just shooting this Winston. He gets a lot of free damage on that guy, and he gets a lot of free charge on that guy, about 30% or so. Unfortunately, he jumps up. He's at the wrong time. Not the luckiest thing right there, but still, he did get a lot of damage, still did help their team a little bit, and could give the possibility to kill the Winston. Of course, unluckily, his team couldn't get the Winston, but he at least got a lot of damage, and at least got the ability to get the Winston. Now, as well, something that I would like to say is that if you do have your ultimate as Sombra, sometimes poking them isn't always the best idea, as if you're poking and the enemy healers are just instantly healing the enemies back up, well, you're just giving the enemy healers free ultimate charge, and you aren't really doing way too much. Well, if your ult is up, and if your ult is just ready to go, it's often really a good idea to just kind of spam out there. Of course, it's like 50-50. If you can spam out there and your team has a slight chance of killing someone, it's probably a good idea to do that. But if you're like shooting into a group of 6, while your ult's not even close to being up, or I guess while your ult's been up for a long time, I mean, maybe not a great idea to do, as you might be charging, you know, the enemy support ultimates. If you already know that they're already up, there's really no negative to just randomly spamming, but if they have like an Ana or something that just barely use their ultimate, you could try to help your team by not spamming and by not charging the enemy ultimates. Just something you might want to think about that he's been kind of doing a bit, kind of just going on and off of. Right there, he just goes in, goes for his ult. Of course, he could have used it earlier. Didn't really matter way too much, though. And then right here, they're already back to the offense. And he starts it up by this nice combo that he pretty much always does. He just jumps off, goes for an E. And that's a really effective place to go because you get this nice height advantage. You can just jump right behind them. And if they're on that corner that they're usually at, a little bit to the left of here, you can just walk in there and just punch them, just stop them, and shoot them from above. And it's really hard for a lot of people to get you if they're not like Diva or if they're not like Genji, if they're not someone that has vertical mobility. It's really hard for them to just jump up. It's really hard for them to just hit you up there, and you can get a lot of free poke. And if people actually do spend the time to walk up towards you, well, they wasted all that time because now you just E away to somewhere safe. It's really easy like that. Right here, he's just getting a lot of time stalled out. He's shooting people, he's mauling people back, and of course his team is really doing amazing as well. Of course, right here, he gets completely behind these two guys. Unfortunately, he gets sleep darted, but luckily they don't really see it way too much, so that's just pretty much luck for him. But a nice thing about that, instead of just attacking from the right or from the left of that soldier, is the fact that he made them turn all the way around. If he would have been right next to the soldier might have been able to kill him and then, you know, immediately turn back and shoot his team. But if it makes him turn around, maybe walk forward a little bit, he can actually get a lot of time stalled and a lot of damage done while he's getting that time stalled. So, something that you could try to bring into your own game. Walking behind them is obviously a good idea, but do it when you're safe. And a thing I would like to mention is that he, in this entire gameplay, has never ran behind the foes without an E on the ground somewhere. Just keep that in mind. He hasn't done this entire gameplay, and that's a great thing that you have to remember. Not having an E on someone, or having E anywhere, is a terrible idea. You can't get back, but a lot of people just don't. As well with this, a lot of people try to save their E's way too much, or their translocators. They're saying that these things are just way too important. I gotta wait, I gotta save it. It doesn't have that long of a cooldown. Honestly, you can use it a decent amount, and you'll really kind of be fine. Right there, we saw a great trick. You can try to shoot the fire hydrant. Maybe waste that, you know, what is it? Widowmaker ultimate, or not ultimate, Widowmaker bullet, and then try to shift out. Didn't exactly go for that, but a really good strategy nonetheless. Just kind of something that you can maybe go for. Really not way too important. From here again, he's just walking around to the left, seeing if he can get any picks. Of course, he gets a really nice E out there. Again, being very safe. And also, he kind of hides his E's. He doesn't really put them in plain sight in the middle of the rooms. Often he puts them in the corners, he puts them next to health packs, puts them next to places that people aren't always next to. And he could put them a little bit closer, but the fact that he's putting them a bit far away makes it so that the enemy just can't walk up and continue to follow you after you put down your E. The main purpose is to get away with it, so what's the purpose of having it really close up anyways? It makes more sense to keep it far away. So yeah, that's an amazing thing that he's been doing this entire game very consistently. Not really a single time he's done anything else. Now right here, of course, is where it switches up. That's the end of the Sombra gameplay. I think he's just saying, you know, I'm doing amazing. Of course, you can switch out the characters whenever you want to. You should be switching whenever you want to. If the situation's going bad, you should switch. But yeah, he just decided, I want to have a little bit of fun. Goes onto this character, goes onto his Widow, and sees as well he can possibly do his Widow. Overall, though, I'd just like to talk about a Sombra. I feel like it's something that we don't really see way too often. Even in pro gameplay, we barely ever see Sombra play like this way too much. I feel like there's a lot of Sombras that only spend all their time maybe trying to hack their Reinhardt shield, and that's all they do. Or they spend all their time trying to get those health packs, and that's all they do. Or they spend all their time just trying to get one nice ultimate, and that's all they do. They really focus up on one thing at a time, one major thing. while you kind of have to get a good mix and a good consistent mix in order to play her really way too well. She's not someone that you can just kind of maul out easy peasy. She's not someone that you can just maul out, get a lot of damage on. She's very different, very unique, and that's something that I feel like is really good about her. Of course, as well, if you're fighting a team that doesn't really have way too great ultimates and their abilities aren't all super important, she's not ever quite as strong. Like, if they have someone like a McCree, she really can't do way too much against McCree, and if they have a lot of characters similar to that, I can't think of any off my head, but if they have any like that, she's not quite as strong, so it might be a good idea to switch sometimes. Even so, though, always just blocking off all the abilities, it's a pretty nice ability about her. One of the things that only she can do, once again. Right here, though, they're just finally getting it off. Again, he gets this nice head advantage. Of course, this is a very easy place to get it, but a lot of people just don't bother to go for that, and then they finally got to the point and just end the game. Overall, though, I feel like Cody's gameplay is really good, really strong, and of course, really consistent, really safe, and you just want to be more safe. That's what I'd say. If you're a Sombra player, if you want to get better, play her more safely. Save your ultimates for when the time is actually going good, and of course, if like 3 of your teammates are dead, you probably want to save that. Of course, a lot of the times your teammates died, when you saved it, you should do the best you could. But yeah, that's essentially what I'm going to say about this. Hope you guys enjoyed. As always, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like. Comment down below what character / player you want to see next time. Of course, if you're even at this part of the video, only like 12% of you guys are here, so say Shabba Baloo in the comment section and say Sombra best character. Please nerf. Or please buff. I don't know, whatever the heck. Anyway, thank you guys all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something too from this guy's gameplay and from what I was saying. And as always, have a wonderful day.